In today's news, immigration officer charged with breach of trust in relation to human smuggling. Immigration and passport validation bill passed, but the Attorney General under the bus again, says Don Smith. AG has advised against repealing greedy bill right now, says Premier, and District 1 residents protest on dump site burning. Viewers, these and more stories when 284 News return.
For the last several years, I have had the distinct pleasure of getting to know Mrs. Lorna Smith OBE on both a personal and professional level. She's my mentor and she's my friend, and I owe so much of who I am, especially professionally, to her. Her work ethic, her determination, and her passion have rubbed off on me, and because of that, I have been able to succeed in many aspects of my life. Being a young professional in the BVI, I do think it's always special to have someone who will put you in the important rooms and allow you to learn and to grow, allow you to be the best version of yourself. She was instrumental in helping me to be confident in my abilities. She has a thing where she says that I inspire her, but I don't think she understands how much she inspires me on a daily basis. She cares, she understands, she's passionate, and she listens. Her care, her passion, and her love of all that she does are just a few of the reasons I think that you should vote for her. We are at a time in the BVI where we need doers and not just talkers. I can vouch for Lorna Smith because she is a doer and she will always fight to ensure that the BVI gets the very best. She's someone we need right now, and I am telling you here today, she can do it. On 24th April 2023, I will be voting for Lorna Smith. And you should too.
Welcome viewers to the Tuesday, April 18th edition of 284 News. I am Kamal Haynes, bringing you the latest out of the British Virgin Islands. While leading today's news, an immigration officer has been charged in connection with investigations into human smuggling. She is 35-year-old Nema Grant of Old Plantation, who has been charged with 3 counts of breach of trust in a public office. But this was confirmed by the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force on Tuesday, April 18th, which said several persons are in custody following the arrest of Grant over the weekend. But the report said, and I quote, "The immigration officer remains in police custody while 3 men native to the Dominican Republic are being detained by immigration in relation to this investigation." The charges resulted from ongoing joint investigations by the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force, the Department of Immigration, and His Majesty's Customs, end quote. The Commissioner of Police, Mark Collins, applauded the ongoing efforts of his officers for their active role in investigating such important crimes. But he also commended the cross-agency cooperation which aided in the breakthrough of the investigation. Persons who have witnessed or have knowledge of any suspicious activity that can help in inquiries into human smuggling through the territory are being encouraged by the Royal Virgin Islands Police Force to call the anonymous crime tip line at 800-8477. Well, moving on, viewers, we're in a historic sitting of the House of Assembly on Monday, April 17th. Legislators passed the Immigration and Passport Validation Bill 2023 with amendments, thus legitimizing the belonger status of 688 certificate holders who came under question following an audit of the Fast Track program. Our Premier Dr. the Honorable Natalia Wheatley provided some insight on how the piece of legislation addressed the issue.
Madam Speaker, Clause 1 provides for the short title of the bill, which is the Virgin Islands Immigration and Passport Amendment Bill 2023. Clause 2 provides for the amendment of Section 16 of the Act to remove the application of the Section 16.3 requirements for an application for the grant certificates of belonger status under Section 16.5a. And of course, persons will be reminded that Section 16.3 of the Immigration Acts would require things like residency certificate, to be 18 years of age, to be of good character, to state an intention to reside, etc. But what is important here is the definition of ordinarily resident, which some of those persons may not have been. And Clause 3 provides for the amendment of Section 17.1 to remove its application to a certificate of belonger status granted under under Section 16.5A. Therefore, the holder of a certificate of belonging status granted under Section 16.5A being ordinarily resident outside the territory for a period of 5 years would not invalidate the certificate.
But the Premier went on to explain that outside of the fast track program, they have many other challenges which made the immigration process difficult for many. He added that the amendments made should assist in some of those areas as well.
As it pertains to the fourth generation persons, it's a big challenge in our community, of course, because you can only pass down the status thus far to persons, especially persons who not born in the BVI, and of course, you have persons who have ancestry and heritage in places like the United States Virgin Islands, the Dominican Republic, etc., and other places. And of course, they were not entitled to the status, and that was something we sought to address when we were dealing with the fast track process. And of course, with the investigations that the Attorney General and her team has made, it became clear that these persons could have their status invalidated after 5 years. And of course, they were affected by the issue that we were just speaking about as it pertains to ordinarily resident. So we have an amendment to the Immigration and Passport Act that sought to address that.
Attorney General Honorable Dawn Smith has called out the government for what seems to be a recurring practice of blaming persons in her post for the wrongdoing of government. Well, Smith at the time was speaking during the special sitting of the House of Assembly, which was recalled to address the legal challenges highlighted in a recent audit report which was conducted on the Andrew Foy-led government's fast track program. Earlier in the proceedings, Deputy Premier Honorable Kai Reimer, who laid a bill entitled Immigration and Passport Validation Bill 2023 to validate the nearly 700 belongership statuses that were illegitimately approved, blamed the former Attorney General Baba Aziz for the role played in providing advice to the then government, which led to the passing of the legislation. Well, Smith, in her address to members of the House, said the casted blame reminded her of a similar occurrence during the Commission of Inquiry hearings.
Just the other day, Madam Speaker, on the road, a friend from my primary school days met me and asked, "Do you still have that job where they throw you under the bus?" Mind you, that's what he said to me. The Attorney General has gone under the bus again. Attorney General was under the bus bad during the Commission of Inquiry. Attorney General under the bus again. It is no comfort to me that my predecessor is the one being accused and accosted this time, Madam Speaker, because today for him, tomorrow for me.
But the AG said while she cannot attest to what exactly transpired nearly 4 years ago, she can vouch for the competence of former AG Aziz in his ability to properly execute his duty.
And for there to be, Madam Speaker, ample time between when a bill is laid in the House and when it goes to committee so that representatives can engage with their stakeholders and come back to the House to debate intelligently and bring issues that have been raised from their interactions with their constituents. How often do we do that, Madam Speaker? Unfortunately, very seldom, if at all. In fact, in my tenure, I've never seen it done. What I know is if that we had done that, we would not be here today.
Well, AG Smith said since taking office, she has pointed to the benefits of the legislative process and the need for the government to have cabinet establish a well-thought-out policy which will guide the drafting and scrutinizing of legislation and highlight the need for proper public consultation on every drafted legislation. She said as it stands, the above practice is seldom done. Well, up next, AG has advised against repealing greedy bill right now, says Premier, and District 1 residents protest on dump site burning. Well, these are more stories after a word from our sponsors.
I pledge, in addition to what has been said about Red Bay, that through careful planning, resources will be sought through public-private partnerships that have been mentioned to build a viable fishing industry that would make fishing a third economic pillar. Recall, ladies and gentlemen, that up to 2017, we had a fishing complex where fishermen could immediately sell their fish, getting at the same time certain subsidies and conveniences such as equipment, supplies, and gasoline. We must bring back that fishing complex, bigger and better, to ensure that both our fishermen and our people as customers get satisfactory services and a product that is sold at fair market value. It is shameful that in 2023, we still don't have a fishing complex where we can buy our seafood at a central location if we so desire.
Our country has more power with Lana in we corner. The future looking brighter with Lana in we corner.
Sincere with honesty, but you know that already. Real representation from a hard-working woman. Right now, we need Lusat Smith right now. Right now, we need Lusat Smith right now. Vote for Lus on election day. 4th district ain't no other way. We tired complain, we been left out in the rain. We ain't got no time, no waste no more. Oh, 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 oh. Voting Lusat Smith for sure. Oh, 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 oh. Got me singing like.
Well, welcome back, viewers. Well, the recalled House of Assembly will not seek to repeal the greedy bill on advice of the Attorney General. Well, that was revealed by Premier Dr. the Honorable Natalia Wheatley on Tola Radio this week as he answered calls to have the bill repealed ahead of the 24 April general election. Wheatley said that his queries into the matter have been met with opposition of the Attorney General's office.
I have requested from the Attorney General that we go ahead and do as the people wish, which is to repeal the greedy bill. The Attorney General has advised that it should not be done at this stage.
Wheatley further stated that the Attorney General's position is merely based on a view that such a matter should not be done in a haphazardous manner. He noted that at this time, the AG's chambers is working on a number of significant issues and has rightfully advised against adding this matter to its workload, and this time over fear of this resulting in mistakes in the process.
But the Attorney General has advised to repeal that bill in a haphazard manner will lead to some of the same challenges which we're speaking about right now, because of course for them to amend any act, they have to sit down, and they've been working, and they have said that they, and I don't blame them for saying that they're not going to do this in a haphazard manner where they can make a mistake.
Well, First District residents joined in protest yesterday outside of the House of Assembly to address the persistent issue of severe outdoor burning of garbage at the incinerator at Popwood Pond, which continues to affect their livelihood. But they also had an opportunity to share their grievances with Health Minister Honorable Marlon Penn. Our Ron Grant was on the ground.
Hello everyone, I'm Ron Grant coming to you live and direct from Tortola in the Virgin Islands. I am at the House of Assembly of the Virgin Islands in the capital, Road Town, Tortola, where members of the 1st Electoral District are this morning protesting outside the House of Assembly in regards to the outdoor burning for the incinerator. They are frustrated. In particular, last evening, members complained profusely of the excessive burning. Take a look.
My name is Daphne Stout, and I reside at Zion Hill, West End, Tortola. I'm a 1st District member, and I am here to voice my opinion about that smoke that comes from the dump in Coxeat. I have lived in Zion Hill for over 40 years, and I do believe last night was the worst. I woke up during the night wanting to know who was burning fire at this hour. Right now my throat is scratchy. When I came outside my house, I live on the top of Zion Hill, I could not see Carrot Bay. There was a cloud, a plume of what I would describe as cancer and sickness coming down on us. This has to stop. This has to stop. Whoever is responsible, this is not good enough. Bring them down. You come down to the 1st District and try to sleep there at night when that thing is burning. Come and you will see. It's unacceptable for animals, let alone human beings.
I'm Sylvia Cecilia Romney Moses. I am a resident of the 1st District. I also have family there, I have property there, and they are all being affected by the smoke from the incinerator. Last night was the worst. I woke up this morning to my family and friends with a big outcry of the big smoke and the fire that was happening there last night. Even yesterday when I was in the district from morning to afternoon, that fire was burning and it erupted last night. This cannot continue. I said 4 years ago that enough is enough, and here we are 4 years hence, and we are literally burning. We are burning. This must stop, and certainly as your next district representative, this would be my top priority. It must be addressed. It is a health issue. We also see it's burning just above the Electricity Corporation power plant. God forbid any fire go down there. What will happen to our people in the western end of Tortola? This must be addressed with top priority.
Yeah, good morning. This is Carl Dawson. Like Daphne, this morning when I woke up to an alarm because the smoke, well, I live down in the towers, and the smoke was coming right down heavy as I have seen it, really, and actually obstructing the visual. I think that this has been going on for a very long time, but I don't think that anyone has really seen it as a national health emergency. And that's the level at which we must see it, and as a result of that, deal with it as a national health emergency. There have been plans, as I've spoken early this morning with the permanent secretary, and I understand of certain plans on the way, and a lot of delays in things being done. But I think it's because it's not being seen as a national health emergency. Because we don't know necessarily what the impact of it is tonight or tomorrow, but for sure, that kind of impact that we have with that smoke and so on, I'm sure it will have long-term effects. And it's something that is not just going to impact us as individuals, but all of us, the whole health system, if these issues continue. So we must show our force, not just even us in the 1st District, but the territory as a whole, to ensure that all the policymakers and lawmakers, some of which we may be in short term, be aware that it's a national health emergency and must be treated as such. Aside from politics, it's politics season, but what I saw this morning as I read our 1st District chat was a whole community of persons, regardless of politics, getting together to say, look, this is something that must stop. They voice their concerns. There's just a few of us here right now, but a lot of persons have voiced their concern and their support for us and this action here this morning. So we want to ensure that our policymakers know that this is unacceptable and we must address it with highest urgency.
I have done it within the 10 months that I'm there. I've moved this process along. I have not slept, I've not dilly-dallied with it. I thought it was important for not just the people of the first day, but this country. We shouldn't have our waste being disposed of without we're disposing our waste. That's why we have the plan in place. That's why I moved to get that plan done. That's why I moved expeditiously to get the pieces together. That plan didn't just break down. From since before February, before he had the fire, it wasn't functioning. So they were exactly. It wasn't functioning. It was functioning just shortly after we left the office when it had the previous fire, and then just before it had a second fire, it wasn't functioning. So we're moving that process along, and I do my part to make sure that moves along.
Anybody else have a question?
Yeah, the one thing I comment, I mean, I appreciate all of what you're saying, and in terms of the choices as to short term, medium term, and so on. The only thing I would advise is say, we should have had more regular communication to the residents of the district, so that even, because in that whole 10-12 months, a lot of smoke come to us during that period, and it's the effect, we don't know the effect. So in terms of even the communication, as bad as it was, and even if nothing could be done, if people could say to us, well, this is what's happening, this is the step we are, it doesn't help us, but it gives us some psychological comfort.
No, I agree. And we've been given a lot of updates in the House on this process, and I agree that we should have come directly to the most affected persons who are affected most by it. And that was an error in terms of not being regular in that point of view. But we've been up in it.
Through another night like we did last night.
I'm going to update you once I get that ETA on where we are. Like I said, we've already started the remedial work at the plant itself, so that by the time these pieces come, it's just a matter of getting the electrical stuff installed. We put a tender out for persons who are going to do the work. All that has been done in the interim, so that everything could work, coincide with each other, and work parallelly to get all these things done. So I agree. I sympathize with the people of that district. I can't imagine what you have to go through on a daily basis. And I guarantee and I assure you I've been working hard, assiduously to get this stuff done, get the pieces in place, but I've also been working on a comprehensive plan.
Well, up next, 4 incinerators were ordered but stopped by Honorable Penn, says Vincent Wheatley. We get to that story when 284 News return.
It's not about you and me. No, no way. It's about all our we. Yeah, yeah. Election day will not be the same. Vote Les Smith for the change. A man of fairness and dignity, with love for God and country. So on election day, vote Les all the way. No time to joke, no time to play. Vote Les all the way. Give him a chance. See what he can do on election day. Vote Les Smith all the way. You hear? Hey, la da dee da da da. Election time, make up your mind. Vote Les Smith, your independent at-large candidate. You hear? He's a great masterminder, yeah. Oh yeah, and a great motivator, yeah. Oh yeah, and oh yes, he's ready to serve and give the people what they deserve. A sense of ease and equality, not just for some but everybody. So on election day, vote Les all the way. No time to joke, no time to play. Vote Les all the way. Give him a chance. See what he can do on election day. Vote Les all the way. Hey, la da dee da da da. Yes, this is Sister Joyce telling you now is the time. Make up your mind. Vote Les Smith, our independent at-large candidate. Vote Les Smith.
This is your Virgin Islands Party District 1 candidate, Dr. Carl Dawson. I am here at the site of the Abraham Leonard Community Center in Carrot Bay. As I see it, Community centers are central to life in communities. It's a place where people can meet. It's a place where people can interact. I also see community centers as a place of learning. It's an opportunity space for individuals to learn about culture, for persons to be guided with respect to their health, for young business persons to learn about business practices or any other thing that might seek to help and develop individuals in the community. So my aim is to restore the Abraham Leonard Community Center, which was damaged during Hurricane Irma, and also to ensure that there are programs in place that seek to develop each and every individual. I am Carl Dawson, working for everyone, your candidate for District 1.
Welcome back, viewers, and thank you so much for sticking with us. Well, incumbent District 9 Representative Honorable Vincent Wheatley has claimed that the territory was set to order 4 incinerators to improve the waste management issues on the islands, but said the initiative was halted by the current Minister for Health, Honorable Marlon Penn. Wheatley made the claim at a recent debate held for District 9 candidates, which also included Coy Levins of the National Democratic Party, Tareen Flatz-Charles of the Progressive Virgin Islands Movement, and independent candidate Vernon Levantopoul. But the candidates were each asked on how they would tackle the current waste management crisis in the territory, which has been posing both an environmental and a health risk. Wheatley said his government over the last few years commenced on the journey to have the waste management issue resolved through a consultancy company named Wood Group UK Limited. He said one of the recommendations from the company was to order 4 incinerators for the territory, but said Penn did not see it fit to take that particular route.
What we did that came from the Wood Group, they proposed 4 incinerators. They were actually proposed to be ordered. 2 for Tortola, 1 for Enegada, and 1 for Virgin Islands. They were ordered, but the current minister didn't see it fit to go that way. A small incinerator can work right now as a short-term measure to eliminate some of the garbage that's being dumped up or burned on the hill. The long-term strategy must be the education process of recycling everything. Once we get an incinerator here, automatically reduces the amount of garbage going up there. 2, we must individually do our part in our homes. That's separation of garbage. Anyone who lives anywhere outside the BVI, know you must separate your garbage, and different days have different things you put out. The meat kinds, the plastics, and the woods and so forth, papers and so forth, have different days. The curbside is a very good idea. It works in the garden. We too can try something like that here. The ultimate goal is to have recycling done, the 7 hours from restore, reform, up to rethink. It's a process. It takes time.
But efforts by 284 Media to confirm whether Wheatley's statement on Penn's actions were unsuccessful, as no response was received by Minister Penn up until the publication of this news release. Well, Evans, in response to Wheatley's reply to the question, said a strategy on research documents without the appropriate legislation would be futile. He spoke on the need for having the appropriate legislation in place for enforcement measures.
The issue that I have is that having a report without the commitment of the government to implement it is like a boat on dry land. I am not aware of any collection legislation that is in place to ensure, because the problem here is, ladies and gentlemen, the enforcement element of things. In order for you to carry this process out correctly, we have to ensure that we have legislation in place and that we have enforcement to back up the legislation. If we don't do that, we will be going and coming. So I think that is imperative. While I understand what he's saying, I think it's very imperative that we put the legislative framework in place, but more so ensure that we have the enforcement element of it to ensure that the process is being undertaken.
Replying to Levins, Wheatley said that legislation is already in works to hopefully be passed in the House of Assembly soon.
It is in process to be passed through the House as soon as the AG Chambers is finished with it. What that will do is it will also open up the funding to do what we call an eco park or industrial park, which is, again, an excellent thing. You can actually be a tourist attraction, but you must pass the legislation in order to open up for the extra funding to move to the recycling and to move to an eco park where when the garbage comes there, it can be separated and it can be upscaled and reused like we do with the plastics to build fences and furniture and so forth. So that is in process also.
Well, Evans also proposed a 4-step approach that he would use to resolve the issue, which include education, legislation, recycling, and bulk waste. Well, meanwhile, PVIM Flats Charles said her plan to resolve the waste management issue in the territory would involve a public-private partnership and an investment of $3 million into the initiative. Well, that's it for today's news roundup. Be sure to follow us for daily news updates at 284media.com and like us on Facebook at 284media and 284BVI on Instagram and Twitter. I'm Kamal Haynes, and I'll see you again tomorrow. Have a safe and enjoyable evening. Bye-bye.
Plain and simple, they have put us in a bad place. They have put us in places that we have never seen in the history of this country. Over and over and over again, it is happening. And it will only get worse with another 4 years of the VI party. We cannot let it happen. A new NDP administration will make sure that work is available for everyone, whether you are a major or a small contractor. Indeed, one of the most vital parts of our economy in recent years has been rendered non-existent, and I speak of our petty contract system. This system is necessary to put to our country, to our country's economy, to keep it moving. It puts bread on the table for so many of us. However, it cannot function like it did in the past, especially in recent times, because it has been abused and the proper procedures were not followed to ensure accountability, quality, and value for money. But an NDP government will work to bring in a proper and functioning system that will allow our people to feed their families.
Our country has more power with Lana in we corner. The future looking brighter with Lana in we corner.